We're joined now by Senate candidate in Tennessee, James Mackler. Welcome to the conversation.
Hey, John, it's good to be here. Thank you.
Good to have you here. Excited to learn more about your candidacy, about the state of the race. For people who might not be familiar with you, what's your background, past political work? What are you bringing to this candidacy?
Throughout my life, I've chosen service. I was practicing law on September 11th, 2001. I left my law practice because I felt called to serve. Walked into an Army recruiting station and said, sign me up. The recruiter suggested the JAG Corps because of my legal background, but there was a helicopter poster on the wall, and I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. So I said, put me in the fight, send me to flight school. I had to get an age waiver because I was already 30, but I joined the 101st Airborne Division, learned to fly Black Hawk helicopters, deployed to Iraq, spent a year overseas, came back, and then switched to the JAG Corps at that point, prosecuted military sexual assaults, war crimes. So I spent about 10 years active duty Army before I returned to private practice and began practicing law again. And I'm running now for the same reason I joined the Army. I feel like our country's in a time of crisis and it's time to serve again.
You know, there's a lot that I want to talk to you about, but you brought up your service, and so I have to ask a question about that. I'm curious because all while I was growing up, it was always believed that of the things a person can bring to a candidacy that's going to make them appealing to a lot of people is going to be military service. And for a candidate who might want to have some crossover appeal, like to the Republicans, like they've always respected the troops and all of that. During the time of Trump, he has felt apparently very free to attack members of the military, to sort of mock John McCain and things like that. Do you believe that the way that Republicans are viewing vets might be changing as a result of that, or do you think there's always going to be sort of an appeal to someone who has served their country?
Well, I can tell you as I travel the state, my track record of service appeals to people all across the state. I'm an outsider, I'm a veteran, I'm a man of faith. That really does appeal to folks everywhere I go because it's an indication of a desire to serve. And that's the only reason anyone should be running for office is to serve. And that's really what motivates me.
Okay, so let's talk about what you want to do while serving then. You become senator, what are some of the priorities that you want to pursue?
Tennessee has become really the epicenter for a lot of the worst effects of the Trump administration. We have more rural hospitals that have closed per person than any other state. The opioid epidemic is ravaging our communities and there's no national solution. And the trade war hurts our state more than any other. What I want to do is be an advocate for the people of Tennessee. My opponents have promised to be blank checks for an administration which is causing all of these problems. The choice is going to be very clear. An Iraq war vet who stepped up to serve after 9/11 or someone who wants to be a blank check. And I believe the job of any senator is to stand up to a president when they're wrong and support them when they're right. We need to be working on all those issues. And I'll go on for just a second because a particularly important issue for me is service. We need to be doing everything we can to encourage national service on the broadest possible scale.
Okay, any particular ways you'd like that to sort of be formulated?
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason I bring it up is, I found through my service that I had a chance to meet with and learn from a diverse group of people who I never would have met otherwise. It got me outside of my bubble. Service, well beyond military service, all kinds of service, allows people to get outside of those bubbles. It creates bonds. It allows us to get a stake in our communities. It can pay for college. It can help you to learn a trade. And unfortunately, 3 times now, this administration has proposed budgets that would have zeroed out service programs like AmeriCorps and student loan forgiveness programs for public service. Those programs should be considered small investments in much more robust programs for public service.
So in your race, there is a Republican incumbent. He's not Lamar Alexander. He's not going to be running for re-election. And I mean, control of the Senate's always important, but it seems particularly important going into this presidential election. And so I'm assuming there's probably pretty high hopes for your candidacy. Now, we know in 2018, Marsha Blackburn, the Republican, she won in Tennessee. What tells you that 2020 is going to be different at the Senate level in Tennessee than 2018 was?
As I travel the state and talk with people about the last cycle, I'm always surprised at how shocked people are to be reminded that Governor Bredesen got 44% of the vote against Marsha Blackburn. That means I need 6 points more in a presidential year, in a time when things aren't getting better in Tennessee, building on the race that Governor Bredesen ran. People are responding to my track record. I believe that as what is going to be high tide of voter turnout, we have an opportunity to make a real change in the state.
So obviously you can only directly control your own campaign inside of Tennessee, but as you say, like this is a presidential election. Obviously, it matters who the candidate is going to be. If it were up to you nationally, what are some of the issues you would want the presidential election to be focused on to give you the best chance of winning in Tennessee?
Well, it's not a matter of what gives me the best chance to win in Tennessee. It's what's best for the American people and for the people of Tennessee. And we need to remain focused on healthcare above all else. As I mentioned, Tennessee has serious healthcare problems. We have 1.3 million people with pre-existing conditions. That is a third of all non-elderly adults in Tennessee who could lose healthcare if we lost the right to protect pre-existing conditions. We have this opioid epidemic that is ravaging our communities, and there's no national solution. Healthcare costs are going up. People are being left behind in Tennessee, perhaps more than any other state. So if there were one issue that I think needs to be at the top of the national agenda, it's got to be healthcare.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. That should be up at the top. And I know at the presidential level, there's a couple different sort of approaches to healthcare that candidates are sort of staking out. You have some who are looking to sort of strengthen the ACA. Others want to replace it with Medicare for all. What would you like to see done? If we get a Democratic president, you join a Democratic Senate, and something can actually be passed, what would you like to see happen in terms of healthcare?
Well, as you know, we've spent the last 2 years watching the administration and Mitch McConnell do everything they can to take away healthcare through the legislature and through the courts. The president saw an $845 billion cut from Medicare. We need people in the presidency and in the Congress who are going to fight to protect healthcare. Now, whether or not Medicare for all is the solution, I don't know, but we certainly need to allow people to buy in at a younger age, perhaps 50 years old, see how it goes. If it goes well, we can expand from there. Right now, the people I'm running against will be blank checks for this administration that wants to destroy Medicare and take away healthcare.
So let's talk about those blank checks. So there's at least a few potentially. Does there seem like there's a clear front runner? Does it matter to you which it ends up being?
It doesn't matter to me. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm traveling the state. I'm meeting with people, listening to what they're not getting from their elected officials. Either one of them are going to be bad for the people of Tennessee. They have essentially sworn allegiance to the Trump administration as opposed to the Constitution, something I raised my right hand and swore an oath to and continue to abide by.
So I have to admit, I have not been able to pay much attention to the Republican side of the primary in Tennessee. Is there really not one who has criticized Trump, has staked out a different position on an important issue, really any sort of show of opposition to his agenda?
No, they're in a white hot race to the bottom to prove fealty to this president. Each one trying to earn the president's love more than the other. That's what we're facing here in Tennessee, a very clear choice between that approach and someone who believes in service.
Wow. And where can people find out more about your campaign?
I encourage all of the your TYT viewers, go to jamesmackler.com, learn more about the campaign, donate at jamesmackler.com/donate, share things about the campaign on social media. We will win this if everyone wanting change joins the team to make it happen.
Okay, James Mackler, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.